What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Joystick Ayrton. Today we're taking a look at the Lenovo Legion Go 6 months on from its launch in October of 2023. So let's get started. Okay, so thank you guys for stopping by to check out the 6-month update of the Lenovo Legion Go video that we're doing here on the channel. But make sure if you like this content, the channel, or anything about us, hit that like button and the subscribe as well. Feel free to leave a comment and tell us where we can improve, because God knows we can improve on a lot here on the channel. With that also being said, right now the Lenovo Legion Go is set up with the Ivanki dock. This thing is awesome. There's an affiliate link in the description down below, as well as pinned in the comments as well, with the coupon code JoystickA with a capital A. So if you're in the market for a dock, this thing is awesome. We have our own standalone video that's coming up next on the channel, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, we can go ahead and jump on in here. The Lenovo Legion Go came out in October 2023, and I'm not going to lie to you, I am biased. I think this thing is the best handheld on the market, hands down. I'm biased in the sense of I've been burnt by ASUS 4 times, not just with the Rog Ally, but with an X670 motherboard, with a laptop, with several different things. And that can happen from Lenovo, from MSI, from all kinds of different companies. I'm biased because I got a faulty Steam Deck on the first launch of the Steam Deck. This was like the very first one where there was some battery shenanigans, but Valve took care of me super quick. I mean, before I even had that thing back at their warehouse, I'm pretty sure they had one out to me. So kudos to them for that. But there's just a couple of things that I really like about this device, and that leads me to being a slight bit biased. And some of you might full-heartedly agree with me, and that's great. Some of you are going to think I'm absolutely crazy, and there's those people that absolutely love VRR. I don't see the use for it. I could care less about it. And those people think, dude, joystick, you're batshit crazy. What are you talking about? So I completely understand those people too, and I like to joke around. I see this in the comment section sometimes too, where I'm just like, obviously the Legion Go is the best, and if you don't think so, well, your opinion doesn't matter, or whatever said little joke is. And one thing I want you all to know is I value your opinion. Everybody has one. It's kind of like, okay. With that being said, there's a lot of things this needed to improve on 6 months ago. It was half-baked when it came out. I want you to keep that in mind too. Every single time I watch the Phawx's video, or Nerd Nest, or their podcast, Retro Games Corp, you'll typically hear them talking about half-baked software. One of the reasons I made the original video was because I felt like they were being so harsh on the Legion Go, and I was like, I just personally do not see what they are seeing. Here's my opinion. And I think that's why we get some awesome content from small content creators, because they put their voices out there compared to bigger channels. Retro Game Corp has 500,000 subscribers, or the Nerd Nest, or the Phawx, or so on and so forth. So with that being said, half-baked software. The Steam Deck came out quite some time ago. It came out with half-baked software. It took them some time to develop that, get that in motion, and they've done an incredibly good job. SteamOS is an awesome handheld console-like experience. Unless you're trying to do non-SteamOS things, play Game Pass games, play Ubisoft Connect, play Blizzard. You've got to jump through some hoops for things that on Windows handheld devices, you don't have to do that because they natively work. You don't have to jump through the back door. I personally can launch big picture mode on Steam and pretend I have a much improved Steam Deck and compatibility with basically anything that runs on a Windows computer. Yes, you can do this stuff on Linux. It is a bigger pain. I know SteamOS fairly well. I know Linux fairly well. It's quicker and easier for me to just navigate Windows on here. That is a little bit harder on the ROG Ally because a 7-inch screen compared to an 8.8-inch screen, the touches, it's a little different. So there are pros and cons to each one of these devices. Just because the Nerd Nest loves the Steam Deck and I love the Legion Go doesn't make either one of us actually right. It's all an opinion-based perspective, use case scenario market for any product on the planet. So just keep that in mind, whether you're watching me or anyone else, and formulate your own opinions based on the information that we give you. With that all being said, and that, God, it feels like that was a 5-minute ramble. This isn't going to be a super long video. The original review, I want to say, was getting close to 40 minutes. There's not 40 minutes worth of content on a 6-month update. We don't need to go through all the things we went through last time. So we're going to talk about ergonomics. Guess what? They haven't changed. But there's one caveat that I want to talk about. We're going to talk about customer support. I think that's super important and where ASUS really kind of dropped the ball across the board with most of their issues. We're going to talk about performance, although performance does not have a gigantic difference. Metric-wise, we're not going to throw 30 benchmarks at you because you're going to see, yes, a little bit of an improvement. We'll talk about that in that section, but it's still the Z1 Extreme. This is the same hardware that's inside of the Rog Ally, that's inside of some of the Win devices, or, so pretty close, 8840U, 7840U. So the performance is pretty much going to be close. We'll talk a little bit about that and the improvements that we've seen. We're going to talk about things that we want to see, things that haven't come yet that we're just sitting there like, Lenovo, for the love of Christ. And we're going to trickle through a couple other little things, little nuances and so on. And hopefully you guys can formulate an opinion if you've been waiting and holding out to see what happens. I want you to keep in mind, the MSI Claw is half-baked. This was half-baked when it came out. The ASUS Rog Ally was half-baked when it came out. The Steam Deck was half-baked when it came out. So whatever device you pick is going to continuously see improvements. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so I kind of think there's three big things you should be looking for in whatever handheld device you're going to pick up. You should be looking for battery life, ergonomics, OS, so really just the Steam Deck compared to all the other ones, and screen size, or screen yada, yada, yada. And ergonomics, that's all generic. It's up to you. How do you like X, Y, or Z? Steam OS, do you want it to be more of console-like? Are you only going to be playing games on Steam? Do you not want to have to deal with the back alley stuff? Or do you want the compatibility Windows? Battery life, this has the best battery life of any of the Windows-based handhelds. It's the biggest battery. It's got an 8.8-inch screen. There's a little bit more room for that there. The MSI Claw's situation is, it's got a big battery, but Intel's chips just, sitting here idling this thing would be dropping percentage points like no tomorrow. And that's just because Intel's behind a couple of years, and hopefully they get that sorted out, but good for competition. And then there's some little other things in there like volume, but maybe you're using headphones. But I think the big three are which OS you want, the screen, do you have to have VRR, or do you want the biggest screen, ergonomics, and battery life. So 4, not 3. I can't count, obviously. Ergonomics, so that's what we're going to start off here with. None of this has obviously changed. It's not like they've dropped a new Legion Go. It's not like they've changed anything. But one thing that was talked about a lot when this first came out was the opportunity for third-party studios or third-party developers or Lenovo themselves to release different styles of, I'm going to call them Lenovo cons, Joy-Cons. They can do all kinds of different things with that. That hasn't happened yet. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen people talk about it. We haven't seen people do it. And I think it's coming. I like to think that at the year mark, we'll see something. But I'm just not 100% sure. I think that's a place where Lenovo, who it's not like with MSI, where MSI was getting such a low price on the Intel-based chips that they're profiting there, or Steam, where they can lose money on the hardware and they're making it up for you on the store. They're not like that. They got to find other ways to make some money. And that's one of the reasons that this screen doesn't have VRR or it's portrait. It's because they're finding these little places to try to maximize upon their profit. So I personally, I wouldn't say I have the biggest hands, but it feels pretty good. I've never had an issue with that. I've never had an issue with the placement of the buttons. I've never had any of those. I think it's great. It is a little bit heavy. I use the kickstand more than I ever have, but it is ergonomically sound for me. That doesn't mean it is sound for you. The deck might be the best. You might want the Win 4 because you want something that small. So make sure, I honestly would recommend, does your friend have one? Go in for like a Win 4, hold a PSP, hold a Vita, for, some of the smaller devices, maybe pick up like a Switch and see how that feels. Try and see if you can get your mind wrapped around that. Go to Best Buy, check out the Rog Ally. See if you like that, and know with the Rog Ally, if you like the Rog Ally and you don't want anything beefier, you probably want it or a Steam Deck or something in that size range. So ergonomics obviously have not changed, but I think I've gotten more used to them, so that has improved over the time, and I would love to see Lenovo drop different style Joy-Cons. I think that would be absolutely awesome. So let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so let's talk about the two areas that Lenovo could improve in the most if they had a revision 2 or whatever they're going to do in 24 or 25-ish. Sound, god awful, and software still needs a little bit of help along. So I actually don't spend very much time in Lenovo space at all, or Legion space. I update it, make sure everything's like it should be, and that's pretty much it. I don't need to touch it. When I had my Rog Ally, I didn't really need to be an armory crate. MSI, I don't know about Dragon Center. We'll see in a couple weeks, and I'll let you know. But I don't think all that software is as important. Now, this Legion button on the right side, bringing up the menu and being able to change all of those work fairly well. I think that software is pretty much matured to a point where I'm happy with it. You still have some issues in certain games where the frame rate limiters don't work, or the FPS counter doesn't work, or you go from performance to power modes and it just goes whoa, 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 and it won't run at all. So there's still some things that need to be worked out there. Custom TDPs, continuing on. So software is not all the way there yet, but they have continuously improved. But there's one thing that is glaringly missing, and it is supposedly on the way. It's being able to map buttons to absolutely whatever you want. The back buttons, the side buttons, all of the buttons that are used inside of desktop mode or FPS mode, RTS mode, if you remember it from the first video. I want to be able to map those to whatever I want them to be in gamepad mode or in FPS mode. So that needs to come. They need to fix the FPS limiter. They need to fix the FPS counter. They need to fix the power modes. Those are big things. Those are huge. I mean, for me personally, I'm always in performance mode. If it plays in a game, I don't mess with all of the TDP most of the time, but I do think that's important for all kinds of different use case scenarios. So they need to fix that. That's a software blunder, that half-baked thing the Phawx loves to say. That's what's half-baked. That's what works flawlessly in the Rog Ally. Personally, I don't use 90% of it. I put it on performance mode and it runs any game that I want to play. I tinker with the settings in the game before I touch the power. If I need the power, I try to play with it. Sometimes it's wonky, sometimes it's not. Much like the Steam Deck. You're running at 15 watts, it is what it is, you got what you got. That's kind of how I run this. The second thing that's god awful and has improved a little bit with updates and with things that you can do inside of Windows itself is just the audio. It's not the worst audio on the planet, but you're definitely not buying the device for the audio. There have been slight improvements, but it's still like it was at launch. It's tinny, it's not loud enough, and a lot of that just has to do with the design of the device altogether. I would love to see them find a way to put some speakers in the controllers themselves with an update to those controllers. That's really about the only way that I can see them fixing this in the long run. And what the reason being is they would add an inch, or maybe a little less than an inch, a half an inch, a bezel underneath the screen to fit speakers on the bottom, to be front facing and front firing, making the device even bigger and even heavier than it is, which I think is the wrong direction for Lenovo to go. So with that being said, let's talk about performance, because that's a big impact for everybody. And to be completely honest with you, it is the most irrelevant thing for any of these handhelds outside of MSI's Claw. Okay, so performance is very subjective. On paper, this Lenovo Legion Go, the Rog Ally, even the MSI Claw absolutely destroy the spec sheet that are the Steam Deck. Yet, when this Legion Go and the Steam Deck are playing Cyberpunk, or they're playing The Witcher 3, or I'm playing Call of Duty, or whatever it is that it's compatible with both of them, typically we're talking less than 3% difference in performance. A lot of that comes down to absolutely insane optimization by Valve and SteamOS, but a lot of that comes down to the fact that inside of this chipset, this form factor, you cannot push it that hard. You can't cool it fast enough to keep the performance high enough in a form factor like this. It is incredibly difficult. It's incredible how far we've come over the last 5 to 10 years in that facet. And we're going to get farther, and we're going to get better cooling solutions, and we're going to get better optimized chips, and so on and so forth. And that continues to go. But that's why you're seeing performance from the 6800U to the 8840U. 5 to 10% in those generations. I mean, 5 to 10% is pretty good, but is it another $1,200 good? The Steam Deck being $350 to a $700 Legion Go, and you're 3 to 4%. I mean, you can't look at this in a playing that much money for performance. It's the wrong way to look at it. Don't pick based off performance. MSI's Claw is a totally different ballgame. Intel is not there yet. They're 3 or 4 years behind the 8 ball for AMD in performance and efficiency and all kinds of different things. So you are buying a starter project when it comes to that, with drivers and all kinds of different things, with ARC being so new. And you're really kind of a beta tester at that point. And for me, that can be fun sometimes, working out the quirks, playing with it. It's kind of like a little gamer's nexus. Let me see what I can do with this thing and see how far I can drag it and see how far they bring it. Although I don't trust MSI or ASUS or even Lenovo to continue supporting these things like the Steam Deck. So that stuff worries me. But I think that's really important to wrap your head around. The performance has improved on this device. We're talking maybe 5% on the high end in some games like Cyberpunk, Gears of War 5. And then you have your indie titles where like it's fluctuating sometimes. And drivers come out and have made the games more stable. But that's not just here on the Lenovo Legion Go. That's on the Rog Ally. That's on the Win 4. That's on all of these Windows-based devices running AMD hardware. So just keep that in mind. I personally don't think you can go, oh, well, the hardware is better inside of the Legion Go. I'm going to pick that. Well, yeah, it's better on paper, but in actuality, this thing isn't crushing the Steam Deck by 40% in FPS. So it hasn't changed that much. There has been an improvement with optimizations from both AMD and their software, their performance on their chips, and with Lenovo optimizing their device as well. Sometimes you get game developers that throw out an update that optimizes the crap out of it for handhelds or for this or for that, and that helps improve it too. But just know performance-wise, it's kind of across the board. It's Lenovo, it's ASUS, it's Steam Deck. It's kind of everybody in the sphere with AMD. So let's keep moving on. All right, so next topic is really the last topic, and that's customer support. Valve did an extremely good job with me when I had my Steam Deck issue. I mean, it was super quick. I had to fight the first guy a little bit, but when it happened the second time, I was able to better explain it because I understood the situation a little bit more, and they took care of me. It was awesome. And then after that, I got an ROG Ally, nightmare after nightmare after nightmare, and the only saving grace to that whole situation was, thankfully, Best Buy. Return, return, return. And let me tell you, I prayed so hard I was within a return policy when they were putting capacitors upside down on $700 motherboards, and I was outside of it by 3 days. Man, that was terrible. Now, Lenovo as well. I have been hard-pressed to find anything saying, hey, I had this crazy issue, and they told me to pound sand. I looked, and really, for the most part, the only issues I saw were people having issues with Joy-Cons connecting, disconnecting, causing them going in and out of FPS mode, RTS mode, things of that nature. And from what I was reading in Reddit and a couple other sources, Lenovo did a pretty good job getting them new ones within a few days and making it not much of a hassle. I guarantee you there are horror stories out there from somebody. Are they legitimate? I don't know. Do you believe my ROG Ally stories? I don't know. You should, but I don't know. So you got to take everything with a little bit of a grain of salt in that scenario. I personally haven't seen anything bad from Lenovo. I think support from Steam is awesome. But these Windows-based handhelds, they have not proven that they're going to continue to support these for long term. They haven't been around long enough. All those ones from China, the Win 4s, the AYNs, all of those, I mean, the 6800U Win 4s have been out of support like 7 months after they were manufactured. What's Lenovo going to do? What's ASUS going to do? What's MSI going to do? They pump laptops out every single year. Are they going to do that with revisions for, these devices? Steam has proven time and time again that, hey, we are here to stay. We are here to optimize and improve absolutely everything. Pick us. This is why you do that. And that is one of the absolute best things about Steam, and I commend them. They do customer service and taking care of their community better than almost any other company that I've paid attention to. So hats off to them. And if that's the reason you pick them and you jump through hoops with Linux and SteamOS and backdoors for Ubisoft Connect and so on and so forth, I don't blame you. I completely understand that. I would have a deck OLED if I would ever put this thing down. It would just sit in the case, and the only thing I would play is the Legion Go. So I'm not going to throw $600 away for that. But with that being said, this device has improved over the last 6 months. Ergonomics I've gotten more used to and think it's pretty much the best feeling device that I've played with to my personal liking. The software has come a long way. There's a couple things we need. Those power profiles need improvement. That stupid FPS counter And then I really want to be able to map any control on the entire device to whatever I want it to be, whenever, in whatever mode. And that's coming. We're getting there, but it's just taking a little while. The sound still sucks. You can mitigate that in certain circumstances. Performance, like I said, take that with a grain of salt. Most of all the AMD chips, whether you're talking Steam Deck and that old architecture or Z1 Extreme, they're all pretty much right on top of each other. One thing, keep in mind, the Z1 Non-Extreme is pretty far off of most of these devices. It's a little closer to where the Steam Deck is, but in Windows-based applications, it performs a little bit worse. So just keep that in mind. But the Z1 Extreme, the 6800Us, 7740s, 8840s, and the Zen 2 architecture in the deck, they're like 3 to 8% most of the time, depending on what you're doing. So a lot of optimization over there on SteamOS. Customer support, take all that stuff with a grain of salt. I haven't seen bad things out of Lenovo. I've seen great things from Steam, ASUS. If you're watching this video, get it the fuck together. And with that being said, that's really all there is to talk about. I charge this thing constantly through this case with it turned off. It's never magically turned itself back on like the Phawx thought it was going to and burn my house down. If that happens, Jesus. But let me know what you guys thought about the video, the Lenovo Legion Go, the deck, the Ally, all of those in the comment section down below. What do you think about the Claw? We are going to do Claw content. I'm going to be about a month behind everybody else, but I still think that's important for me to experience for several different reasons. Not only for making content, for trying to learn more about the algorithm, more about YouTube, build a better community, see what is coming from MSI, but just I think there's things that I can improve on and learn about all the architecture from everybody. And there's so many facets of that that are super important with the MSI Claw. So, and who knows, maybe, just maybe, the Claw 2 destroys everything. I doubt it, but it's possible. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about this video and everything in the comment section down below. Do not forget about this dock, the Ivanki dock. There is an affiliate link in the comment section and the description down below. And the coupon code JoystickA with a capital A. Get you a little discount there. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.